Please welcome to the stage your host and moderator, technology and games journalist, Seamus Byrne.
It's a long walk. I have to, you can't get out here in time for the clapping to still be going. Yeah, good morning, everybody. It's a sad morning. It's the last morning of PAX. But we have an amazing panel lined up, so that's a yay. I'm Seamus Byrne. Most of you probably don't know me, but the main place that people would see me is probably most of your parents might see me on morning television shows where I sometimes get called in to defend our hobbies and talk about how much they're real now, they're things that it's okay for people to do this. And this lineup of people are perfect examples of how you can actually make this a thing that is a real life. It's not just a hobby, it can be something you can pursue if you really want to. And so hopefully we'll get to delve into some of that with these guys and talk a lot about just what it takes to hit the top and what it feels like when you actually do get to do this every day for the rest of your life, which is really cool. So please help me welcome this great lineup. The first guest, she's a former Frag Dolls pro gamer and now core team member at Rooster Teeth, Ashley Jenkins. He's a game streamer, a big personality, and now also a YouTube Red show producer, Jesse Cox. She's an Australian tech and games journalist at Gizmodo and Kotaku and hosts television for SBS's The Feed and The Point. Please welcome Rae Johnston. And she is an incredibly skilled cosplayer, a D&D player, and dare I say performer, and everyone's favourite trash witch. Please welcome Commander Holly Conrad. Look, guys, I think by way of personal introductions, I thought a really sort of cool place to start would be to get from you what you felt like was that moment where this became real for you, where this passionate hobby that you had suddenly actually became the thing that you got to keep doing all the time. Ash, start with you.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, was taking these, these classes in web design and decided to build my own little fan sites. And that was a really good time, but what I didn't do was pay any sort of bill. In fact, at that point, you had to pay for your own hosting, so every time someone came to the site, I was paying for them to be there. But what ended up happening was I developed a couple of relationships with people in the video game industry, publishers like EA, developers. Specifically, the first website I made was for this game called American Weez Alice, which was and remains one of my cult favorites of all time.
Who's played it?
Yes.
That guy.
You get me. Then over time, I was still happy to have a job, and I was working as a web developer at a dental supply company, and it was a bit of a misery. And but some of the people I'd met suggested I try out for this new thing that Ubisoft was doing. They were putting together an all-star pro team called, well, at the time it didn't have a name, but it was called the Frag Dolls. And I was like, I don't know, I don't want to hang out with a bunch of other girls. I don't really know any other girls that play video games, so this could be weird. Maybe they're bitches, I don't know. And so I was really scared about it, but then I ended up submitting an application. They flew me out to San Francisco. It turns out, not only were they not bitches, but it was awesome because we could go through all kinds of conversations, from talking about clothes to, I don't know, grenades and Rainbow Six, and then back to hair, and it was really amazing. And so I was crossing my fingers I'd make the team. I did, and then I could finally say to my parents, I did get a real job. And guess what? It's still playing games. And everything has really led on from there for me.
Awesome. Jesse, how about you?
I suffer from immense imposter syndrome.
Every day.
I still don't know that there's been a moment where I've been made it. Last night I was just as shocked as everyone else to see as many people that showed up in the Wombat Theater for my panel. I don't get it, but I was a teacher, and so when what is the word people use? Downturn, recession, whatever happened in 2008,
The
2009.
Great Recession.
Yes, when money became worthless.
Yes.
They let us all go. And so I didn't have a job, and I had nothing to do, and I played video games for fun already. And so I started messing around in Warcraft and making like videos of the beta, because I was like, people might want to see this. And one of my good friends was like, yo, you could make money on the internet doing this. All right, sure, I'll do it. And these many years later, here I am. It's bizarre and weird. I don't get it. I'm super thankful for it. But look, I will keep showing up to these as long as they keep inviting me.
Rae, does it feel real for you yet, or where was that moment? Where was the moment?
No, none of this. I feel like I'm probably going to have to go back to making coffees any day now. I
enjoyed doing that.
I love it. I actually miss making
I do
coffees.
too. No, I do too. I have friends who are baristas, and I'm just like, I can always go back.
I actually started out wanting to be an actor and doing a lot of acting work and voiceover work and all that kind of thing. So that meant that I worked in hospitality for many, many, many years.
That's too true.
It's basically what it is. But I'd always been a gamer. I'd always loved writing. These things were my passion. So there was a casting call for a television show that I'm not even sure is still on air. It was called Save Point. This was about 7 years ago now, I think.
It's not on air.
It's not on air anymore. Who knows these days? And I saw it come up, and it was like, you could be a presenter on a television show talking about video games. And I'm like, that's a job? That's something I could actually be paid to do? How does this work? And I remember sitting in the waiting room, and I'm just thinking to myself, you've got this. I had to go in and review a game for my audition, and I reviewed the port of Ape Escape onto the PSP because there was no second thumbstick and you couldn't actually catch the monkeys. It was ridiculous. And it all just kind of went from there because I've always created my own content that under the banner of other people, because I've always written every word I've said. And I've left places as soon as they've said, here's the words that we're putting in your mouth. I've always had someone that appreciated that and would offer me work, and it's just kind of taken off from there.
Holly, your style was more in that kind of, effects and cosplay sort of scene. I'm kind of curious where was that point for you?
I agree with Jesse. I'm just like, I don't know who let me in here. I'm just like, the homeless lady needs to leave. I started cosplaying just because I would go to the Renaissance Fair a lot. So I love the Renaissance Fair. I was part of the SCA. I don't know if they're the SCAs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
SCA. Yeah.
I did that, I've been doing that since I was like 3 years old, going to the Renaissance Fair. And so I just started dressing up. And I remember I was dressed as a female version of Valen from Neverwinter Nights, Hordes of the Underdark. It was real bad, but that's okay. Your first cosplay is not great, but someone at the Renaissance Fair was like, you look like my son's anime. I was like, wow, really? After that, I was like, that's it, I'm gonna make more costumes. So I just made costumes based on what I loved, which happened to be D&D. So I started making D&D costumes, and then I love Mass Effect, so I made Commander Shepard, and then I got in the Morgan Spurlock documentary, and I did all these other things, and none of it is still real to me. I don't it's just like brain problems, but I just want to help other people. I want other people to know that they can do what I'm doing, what all of us are doing too, and that you don't have to feel hindered because you can do it. And it's just, and I feel like I didn't have a lot of that growing up, like even in high school. People, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write fantasy books, and they're like, you should pick something else. And it's been constantly people saying, like, this is something you can't do, and obviously they were wrong. So. Woo! But yeah, it is weird. I don't know why people listen to me talking.
Well, I think something, when I was looking through all your bios, I think something you all seem to have in common is that fundamental idea of being open to an opportunity, right? Like that, when I talk to a lot of people, man, my own kids are just, I want to be a streamer now, you know, like this is kind of part of their mindset that this is a real thing people do. But that journey for almost everybody who's doing it was more an idea of going, I'll try things, I'll keep following my passions and see where it leads.
Desperation is the word. Got nothing else?
Also, crushing depression.
Yes, that's also the good word.
It's easier if you don't have to leave the house, you can just talk to a camera, you're right. But yeah, look, you know, I think, is that, you know, a genuine thing that, well, except for the crushing depression side of things, yeah, when you sort of suggest to people to kind of try it, what is part of that mindset that you feel like you had that meant you were able to make it stick in the end? You know, that it's something that, you know, some people might, you know, give up after a handful of videos. Is it that thing where you sort of just go, well, no, I'm going to keep looking for those opportunities. I'm going to keep trying, or yeah, I'm just going to do it because I like doing it, and then we'll see what happens next.
Well, I mean, in my case, I've always said to everyone who's like, how do I do YouTube or stream or all that stuff? It always comes down to keep at it, and even when you think no one's watching, to keep doing it. Because chances are no one is watching, but you just have to keep going. I was fortunate in that I was jobless and penniless and moved back in with my parents, and so I had nothing to do, and my options were either have fun on the internet or go be a substitute teacher, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So it was about a good year of my parents being like, shouldn't you do things with your life? I was like, I made $11 on the internet last week, Mom. And so they were like, what are you talking about? And then over time, they actually saw like, oh my God, he's doing things, and this is a job now, so we're okay with it. But up until then, for a long time, it was just keep doing it, and no one really cared. Pro tip, fake it till you make it, is what I say. When I started, I would post Warcraft videos of like new zones and WoW. I would go on the forums, post like cool new video, then get every one of my guildmates to reply to that post, so it would stay on the front page as long as possible. Cheated my way to the top, baby. You can do it too.
What's your guild like? He's so great. The funniest.
Yes. Like one sentence response was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
It's like a fake Yelp review.
Yes, that's what it was. I was fake Yelp reviewing before that was even a thing.
But, you know, well, like what you say too about like maybe no one's watching is it doesn't mean that the effort you put into the thing that no one watches is wasted. It never is, and it's like it's a very difficult mindset thing because you know if you're putting that content out there, you want people to see it. You know, it's important you spend time on it. But what you're also doing is you are getting better every time. You are building a body of work. You are gaining experience that you wouldn't have if you had not made this thing. So it's not just the process of, I'm gonna put this out there, it's gonna be my first thing. If it doesn't take off, well, I guess I'll just go do something else. Because anytime you start doing something, you're probably gonna suck at it. That's fine, that's part of the process. You do it a bunch and you suck less. I'm really hoping to get over the suck less point. Good at something someday, but until then, I'm just gonna keep pushing myself at everybody.
Yeah, the more you produce, the more content you create. Even if no one's watching, by the time they do watch, you'll actually have your persona of who you are online, and you'll be comfortable, and those people will stick around when they finally tune in. So just keep at it, yeah.
Yeah, I think work ethic is incredibly important. I mean, I'm not like you guys. I'm kind of beholden to, you know, bosses and, you know, networks and all those sorts of things. And basically, I need to make sure that I've always done my research. I'm always on time. I'm always well presented. That I'm ready to work and I'm good to work with. No one wants to work with people that are arrogant and entitled and, you know, think that they deserve everything just handed to them without having to work for it. I know, isn't it a shock? People don't enjoy that. So I think, yeah, staying in the mindset that you are always learning and you are always getting better. I think if you do sit here and go, oh, well, this is it, this is the best I'm ever going to be at this, so, you know, worship me, it's just not going to work out for you. You do have to keep pushing.
And
I like the worship me part of it. Worship me.
I was, trawling through back catalogues of people's work, and I did notice, Holly, your first video, sort of clutching your cup of tea, saying that was your kind of security blanket, and
What?
but at the same time, I think there's quite a clear element there that just you are able to be yourself on camera, like as much as it, of course we all get better over time. But I'm curious about that whole idea of genuinely, that lots of people will try to sort of go like, I need to create a character for myself, to kind of be a personality online, versus that idea of going, the more comfortable you are with yourself, the more then your people are going to find you, right? And you're actually going to serve an audience that you want to serve. Like, how has that sort of evolved for you in particular?
I think it's really interesting because, like, here's me back when I was like young Holly, and there's a lot of like pictorial evidence of this, and it's hilarious. Like, I took a cardboard cutout of Legolas to prom. Like, actually,
I've seen this.
Yeah, like.
It's incredible.
Like, and then I didn't show you this one, but there's another one of me when I was in, I think, middle school, and I'm sitting there in a like fuzzy purple sweatshirt with a crazy like bob haircut, cradling a space shuttle. And with space behind me, it's like wrinkly. It was at Sears. Like, it's like, like that was my photo as a kid. Like, that was my official, like, so I think I just, forever, like, one of my, I guess, greatest, like, assets is that I've been able to just unabashedly be myself and just not care. And to my detriment at times. I mean, when you're young and when you're trying to make it, like, if you're just constant, if you're always yourself, it leaves you very vulnerable. It leaves you very vulnerable to people criticizing you. And I think that's something that I've always just kind of embraced, and it's hard, it's not easy. I mean, YouTube comments are awful, you guys know that. And when I first started doing YouTube, the comments were not nice. And it happens, like it's just, and those people, you have to realize they're insecure and unhappy and they've got their own problems. And even though, but you can also be like, you're real mean. But I think that's something that's helped me even in my first videos, is just, I was just myself, and that's a genuine want of me to just be like, if you're like me and you feel like insecure, or you feel like you have anxiety, or you feel like there are these hurdles in life, it's okay to feel that, and you can be yourself and you can be loved for that. And that's what I try and do.
Well, when did you feel okay with sharing your pigeon?
The pigeon log, actually, I mean, that kind of evolved out of I love birds.
Can we not call it the pigeon love?
Okay.
The pigeon love. It's creepy, Holly.
Okay, all right.
Pigeon love?
So
I played that dating sim.
Dude, that dating sim is wonderful.
Yeah.
Did you play it to the point that it turned into a murder
It
mystery?
became very dark?
yeah,
Yes.
it got messed up. It was messed up.
It's
Quality.
fantastic.
Yeah, and pigeons can be really mean to each other, so I was like, I know this. I've seen this. They're monsters. I don't know, I've always loved birds since I was a little tiny kid. Teachers would write me things like, I hope you become an ornithologist, Holly. And I'm like, I'm bad at math, it's never gonna happen. But eventually when I started doing YouTube, I was like, I just wanna talk about this. I like birds, I'm gonna talk about it. And then people were like, this is great. And I'm like, cool, great, all right, we're here. Because I was like, I just have, they know me for cosplay or video games or whatever. And then I was just like, I don't care, you can know me about pigeons, I like that too. Also, I've gotten people to rescue pigeons, and that's awesome. It's like the guy from The Price is Right, who always told people to spay and neuter their animals.
Bob Barker?
Bob Barker, yeah. It was like the pigeon Bob Barker.
That's your Twitter bio.
Look, some of you actually, I know Jess said you had a theatre background in this sort of mix as well. I know, Ray, you did your training. But you all do have really kind of good presence in your voice. I think, I'm curious if you feel like that is something that people need to be aware of for themselves in terms of how well they kind of punch that voice out. You have a lovely voice, Jess, and don't
I hate my voice. When I hear it, I'm like, does that gross thing come out of me? I get why people, one of my biggest pet peeves in the world, but I understand it, is when someone's like, hey everybody, it's me, Gamer2674, coming at you live right now. I hate that stuff, but I get it. It goes back to what Holly was saying about being confident in yourself, and that's just a security blanket. So that's why you have some videos where it's like, I'm going to talk to you about Game of Thrones theories. It's clearly not the guy's voice, but he's just trying. And I'm fine with that. Like, I get it. I hate it, but I get it. And, yeah, I think everyone at the beginning, when they hear themselves through speakers or headphones, they're just like, oof, that's me. And you just get over it. You have to get over it and just keep moving on, because trust me, the internet will let you know how crappy you are.
All the time, 100%, yeah.
So you shouldn't be the one to call yourself crappy, because they'll do it for you.
Yeah, it is down there on the list of problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just too small.
You learn a lot about yourself when you're creating your own content. If you're like cutting your videos and like you're doing editing, you see a lot of your face. You see way too much of your face. You hear way too much of your voice. You're going back, you're scrubbing through something to try and like get the cut right. There's never a still frame in which anyone's face looks nice.
No.
And yeah, and you just hear like your voice, you're just like, shut up, constantly. So you learn a lot about yourself. You spend a lot of time with yourself when you do a job like this.
Yeah, it is a really good way to learn. I did voice acting for many, many years. I still do. My voice today is particularly husky because I've spent the last 3 days talking non-stop. But yeah, no one likes the sound of their own voice. But one of the things that I've told, people that have showed me their videos and things, and they're like, hey, I've made this video, and it's really great content, but they just sound so tired and bored. And I'm like, just smile while you're talking. It makes all the difference. If you put a smile on your face, you sound like, you feel like an idiot, but you sound so much better and more engaging. And I think learning that sometimes what feels weird to do presents and sounds better is a really important lesson. And yeah, you can only learn that by trying. And
I'm curious if you feel like, it's often one of those, acting type things that they sort of say to you, okay, you're staring at a camera, you're talking to it,
Yeah.
like, who is it you're kind of picturing it is you're talking to? Is that something that, that you didn't even think about at first, but it became a thing, or is it just, it's an oblivion thing, or, I'm curious, who is it that you think someone should think about talking to through that camera? One person or like a million people?
I'm curious what your lies are going to be, because every time I'm in front of the camera, I black out.
Yeah.
I don't know what comes out of my mouth.
The lens just looks so judgy.
Hi, I don't know what we're doing right now. I will remember this panel an hour from now. It just, I word vomit and then move on with my life.
Is that actually partly that early on, the camera's there, and then later you just sort of forget it exists?
There is something to just like spending time with it, and you eventually sort of like get numb.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the first times like looking at you being like, this isn't happening, this can't be happening, oh god, it's recording me, oh my god, this is gonna live forever, is it gonna live forever? Maybe it'll go away, what if the internet dies? And you just like, your brain just goes haywire staring at it. And then, you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it. And then eventually it starts to get a little bit number, so I just stare at it. And now I've got this kind of like cross-eyed thing that I can do, so that it goes out of focus, and then I pretend that it's not there.
So a lot of the times that I'm on camera, I'm on live television, and I've got an auto cue rolling from a script that I've hopefully done the right things on, and I'm just praying that I haven't typed in the wrong words. So I'm just trying to basically make everything seem as natural as possible, and I'm genuinely not thinking about the camera itself. I'm more thinking about, just my delivery and having that thought in the back of my mind that I really hope I haven't screwed up the script, basically.
Look, I think maybe another sort of angle on a similar theme there is I once heard a good description of that whole idea of being switched on, because you're being yourself, but you still need to be in this kind of switched on space.
Yeah.
I heard it described as like, being a version of yourself who's having a good time at a party. It's still you, but you're kind of just, you're hanging out with friends and you're having a good time. Like, are there any other sort of thoughts on that sort of idea of how to be on in a way that, again, you're yourself, but you're a good version of yourself?
I've done things like do like star jumps before, because like they'll be counting down to us being on air, and I'm there just like dancing and like just things to get your energy up. I think is an important thing for me, and it helps me just go bang, you're on. But yeah, that's all I've got really.
That's very different from my recordings. I'm just like, I feel real sick today and I'm tired. And so I'm just gonna talk and just have like right now I'm so allergic, my eyes are weeping down my face. I'm just like, I don't need those, they're falling out. Like, it's just like I'm usually just, it's just a different thing. Like in YouTube, I just, I I just try to be honest, and I try to be like reassuring. I think I never try to be like insecure on camera, even though of course like I will feel insecure when I'm done because I'm like, oh man, that was real bad. Or like I'll take the ring light and turn it up to like 1,000. It just looks like my face is in the sun. Like I'm just like, this will fix everything. It doesn't. It fixes nothing. Like it's just, I feel like YouTube, that's, you can do that. I would be, when I have done more like hosting things, that's incredibly stressful. Like, and that's you have to, be like, okay, I need to turn up like my energy level, not my personality, but my energy level to like a 20. When I'm normally I'm just me, but normally I'm like a 0.5. So.
Yeah, I've got to be careful not to swear much.
Oh, that's real hard.
Ever, on everything that I do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, the best thing about working on the internet.
Right?
Yeah, it don't matter.
I can't do any of that. So when people meet me in real life, when I'm not like on a panel, on radio, like any of these things, I will not swear on this panel because I'm on right now. I have to make that separation. Kind of.
Shit.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Poodoo, you're right, Poodoo.
But yeah, when people have a chat to me in real life, they're like, you swear a lot more than what I thought you did. So,
Look, here's a big one, and kind of a shift out of what we've been talking about a lot, but I think, how is it to have gone from being a fan, we work in an industry where it is, it's about, that passion and that love for these things that we kind of care about and we play and we get to do, to then having fans and having this relationship with an audience. And has it changed how you think about how you used to be as a fan before you had your own, or is it just two completely different relationships? I'm really curious on like how that evolves when you do suddenly realize there's an audience and they kind of want to they want to have this fandom relationship with me now.
I mean, I always get really surprised if anyone comes up to me and they're like, hey, and I'm like, what? There's something wrong. Like I never, that's never the first thing that clicks. It's like, oh, they want to say hello to me. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like I've just messed something up. Did I drop something? Is something in my hair? Like what's wrong with me right now? And they're like, I love your work, and I'm like, oh, thank you. But it's a really weird switch to make because I never think of like doing it and like, oh, someone's really gonna appreciate this. It's that full-on imposter syndrome. Like, why do you want to say hi to me? Why? I don't know why you care. I'm real sorry for everything about me. So like but then realizing that people do want to say hi and that they do find value in what you do is also really cool because then at some point I can finally interact with people with the confidence that they like me. And that's like not something I ever had like growing up in school ever. That pretending you're having a good time at a party is probably I'm off in a corner like holding my drink going, I don't know how, I don't know anybody. I'm just annoying people. I'm gonna go home. So there's actually something very freeing in someone coming up to you and saying, hi, I love your work, because you go, someone likes me and I can have a normal interaction, and it's really cool. So that's my sad story.
Jesse, how about you?
Man, I just realized that deep down we all have a deep desire to be loved, and that's a problem. That's a big problem.
This panel's now going to be a totally different direction.
Yeah, we need a couch.
Let me tell you about my childhood. What was the question?
How have you kind of, dealt with having fans now and having a relationship with fans when, as people in this kind of space and the things we love, we are fans ourselves?
Well, being a giant fanboy myself of many things, sometimes I forget and I see people say things about stuff I've done. I'm gonna roast this dude online. I'm gonna get him. But then I look at some of the things I've said about things that I love. I'm like, ooh, I'm way worse. I will go off on Final Fantasy 13, for example. I hate that French. I'm just kidding. Get out! Anyway, I understand how maybe you can goof sometimes and people respond negatively to that. So I try to put myself in their shoes and realize that my biggest revelation over the last few years when it comes to fans and not fans, I guess people who enjoy crapping on you, is to someone on the internet, like for me, for example, if I just shout out like, this game sucked and I hated it, I'm just one person saying that out into the ether. But whoever's receiving that is receiving it from all ends, multiple times. And it just builds up and stacks. So when I do something and I get like tons of praise, I'm like, thanks ego, we're doing it. And when something people don't like happens, and I get all of that, then you feel like crushed by it. But I don't think anyone has the intention of making you feel that way. It just happens because there's so much of it. And I keep having to say, okay, let's take a step back and be just grateful for where we're at. When I say we, I guess there are people living in me. Just like be grateful for where I'm at and understand that, you know, I am a fan, and to have people who are fans of me is crazy, but I understand where they come from and like what their demands as a fan are. Because I have my own demands, like this is what I want. And if I go show up to, I don't know, hang out with John Boyega, for example, John, wherever you're at, you'd be a cool dude. And not like John Boyega, wherever you're at, John. Starting to beef, apparently. No, but yeah, and so I like to take that to the conclusion of being like, if someone comes up to me, I want to leave them walking away with the best experience possible, because I know I want that. And so I go out of my way, which is unfortunate, because I feel like maybe I'm becoming the creepy one. I'm like, you sure you don't want another picture? Are we good? Is everything fine? You got problems, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that something that I noticed happened is when you're on the internet and people are contacting you on the internet, they forget that you're a real person in real life with real feelings. And something that I will do on the regular is, you know, share something really personal, or, you know, something that just humanizes me and reminds people that, hey, you know, all that bad stuff you're saying, it's hitting a real living human being that's just like you. So yeah, being able to be, I think, at conventions and talk to the people in real life that might say some pretty horrible things to you online, but in person they never would. And once they've met you and made that connection, and I think it makes a big difference for people to realise that you're not distanced, you know. Do you know what I'm saying? It's early, I'm sorry.
I think I was thinking about this question too, and I'm just gonna like go in a different direction. Is like, I'm a big fan. Like you say, I'm a huge fan of tons of things. Like, and sometimes being a huge fan of tons of things ends up breaking your heart. Because if you love the thing so much and then you work with like something on a professional level and it's not what you expected, Jesse's face. Jesse's just, he's looking into the void right now.
But that's what fandom is. Fandom is loving something so much to the point where it breaks your heart eventually.
Right. And so
they do one thing wrong, it's not even that bad, you're like, it ruined the canon.
Yeah. You're just like, why would they do that?
Never I have follow your heroes on Twitter.
I have to lay in bed for a day. But it's like, I think that's an amazing thing, is to be such a huge fan of so many things. But it's also like, it's when it comes to like what I do and like people, you know, being fans of my work, how I see it, which is probably, I don't know if it's just, again, the imposter syndrome thing, but I see it as like we're all fans together. So like even like in my weekly stream D&D game, like I have written fan fiction for my own D&D game and posted it on our subreddit. And people are like, wow, you really, you're just like us. And I'm like, yes, please never find my other fan fiction. Please, ever. Like, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like, so that's how I kind of like deal with, you know, having a fandom, is that like, I don't necessarily see it as mine. I was like, we're a collaborative fandom. We're here to do it all together and like the things that I like as a group and be excited by them. It's like every time someone cosplays as my D&D character, like that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like nothing can be cooler than that. Like it's, unless I had a mage tower, but other than that.
I mean, you're right.
Now, Ray, you work in the TV space, not just kind of the I get to do it all myself digital media space. And Jesse, you've been working in the YouTube Red space, which I'm sure means there's a whole other production team and all kinds of things attached to that, which suddenly means you don't just get to hang out and say. So, I'm curious on that difference in dealing with bosses, essentially, versus getting to just do this the way you want to do it.
They're wonderful. Thank you for employing me.
Yeah, great people.
See what happens.
Super awesome. So proud. Every time I'm on a set for anything, I always have the realization that I'm like, I could do this with like 2 webcams and a dream. But I guess there's this whole other world of you need this type of camera and this type of lighting, and there's a lot of people to employ. And so it entertains the hell out of me that the YouTube space and the streaming space have sort of taken a little bit of that and said, we can do roughly the same thing. It's not going to be as high quality. It'll never be as high quality, but it can be just as, if not more, entertaining. And I think that's what it comes down to. People just want to be entertained. They don't care how it looks. Unless it's like a cool movie, then people want to see it and be like really blown away. But that's, it's like a summer blockbuster. People expect that stuff. But everything else, I think people just want to be flat out entertained.
Ash, do you guys, like all the, cool productions that Rooster Teeth's been doing, is that all kind of internal team you kind of create yourselves, or do you bring in other kind of people to help make that stuff happen?
Yeah, like we got a lot of people to employ. So we do, our Rooster Teeth is now 300 people. We have an entire departments devoted to live actions. We've got our camera operators, we've got our directors, we've got our editors, we've got an entire production design team, and they have this huge like airplane hangar that they're fabricating sets and props and where we store everything. And it's
2 webcams. Call me Rooster Teeth, make it happen.
It's just my phone and a pigeon loft.
It's a lot of fun, and it's largely we're very lucky to be in a place where we can spend all these resources on essentially make believe and like making these things up and being like, it'd be really cool, and then someone will be like, I think I can do that, and then they take off and they make something incredible out of 2 webcams, and
where it all starts.
So they put it all together. But we do have all of these moving parts, and it becomes a much more elaborate planning process, and then you've got communication involved, and then it's like, we're doing all these things. How are we going to release this? And so it does become a much bigger machine when you are involving all those people. But it's really cool to see what a bunch of creative minds coming together can make.
Yeah. Look, I'm go to one of the dark places again just for a moment. I think managing burnout, I think, it's something that, I think, in the early days maybe, I don't know if it's harder or not, but when you aren't really getting much back from it, people stop pretty early. But even once you've got the audience and you're doing it all, how much do you feel like you just need to keep feeding that audience, or, feeding your channel, whatever it might be, and how do you kind of remind yourself that you need to kind of pause now and then and just chill the hell out so you can just, keep yourself sane?
I have a rule that I'm breaking this weekend, obviously, which is I don't work on weekends. I don't do it. I write full-time at Gizmodo. I'm there from 6:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Then I head over to the television station, and I'm there, sometimes 1, sometimes 4 nights a week, where I'm writing and hosting 3 different television shows. So I'm working 4 jobs, and it's pretty full on. But I make sure I get a good night's sleep, and I don't work on weekends unless it's something really, really, really cool that I really, really want to do. And I love going hiking and turning off my phone and not answering any notifications and not worrying about anything else. And that's basically how I'm not dead.
Good policy. Holly?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard, especially like YouTube's been going through a lot recently, as I'm sure all of us have heard, that it's just been, things have been changing, and like, some people are doing more Twitch and some people are doing more Patreon so it's like this industry is never stable. It's never like, everything's great, we're just gonna cruise on into the coffin. Like that's, that's just not how it is. Like it's so.
And I work for dying media, so.
They're just cruising to the top, yeah. So it's just like, I feel like that's a big thing and also an anxious thing where it's like, okay, your industry's always changing and all of that, but it's like, I always try to have something that I love on the side, which, before was like D&D, and I'm like, okay, well now that's also part of what I'm doing, which is great. Like, I'm also very excited about that, but like, I also have a home game that's not streamed and gets like real dumb. So and I have that, or like
now everyone wants to see that one.
Oh yeah, no, you never will, and no one ever should. And it's, things like that help a lot, but I also like to have things like in the background, which might be, it's not a good example of not stressing yourself out, but like also creative projects. Like I'm working on I wrote a fantasy book when I was 13, I'm working on writing that again. And so it's like things like that I'm like, it's not my job, but it's like I can go to a cafe/bookstore, sit there, not put my phone away and sit there and write. And that's something that it has nothing to do with anything, no media, and I don't have to be on camera, and I can do that, and that's awesome. But I'm also thinking like, man, one day I could publish this book and I'd be real proud of myself, but I don't have to, I'm just gonna try my best.
Awesome. Jesse, burnout, is it a thing?
I mean, yes, it's a thing. You can see it even on people who are super successful. The vast majority of gaming YouTubers, for example, when they hit that point of like peak success, no longer put out gaming videos every day. They're now like life vloggers or whatever. And because I imagine it's easier to go enjoy yourself and then film it and then upload it and still get as many views.
Fancy that.
Yeah. But
people watch my pigeons. Thanks, guys. I love them.
I think I'm just a mess. Man, because of burnout, I decided I'm not gonna do this thing from home anymore. A bunch of friends and I were gonna get an office, we're gonna set up this cool place, it's gonna be amazing. I set a hard cutoff. I was like, you know what, 6 p.m. every day, I'm gonna go home. It's gonna be great. I leave that office like 11:30 at night, sometimes way later. My solution to that, because I'm a mess, was I should just get a smaller, cheaper apartment because I'm never at home. That's not a good solution. That is the worst solution. So now I go home and sleep. The problem that I have is what I do is I find really fun. So I don't know that it burns me out because I enjoy what I do. I just spend way too much time doing it. But I've seen it and I know what it looks like. And so I would hope that should it ever just wash over me, I'll be like, all right, let's switch this up. Let's figure out what to do next.
Yeah. Look, we're going to take some questions shortly. I'm not sure where the mic stands are in this, or whether it's roving mics or what. If you can see a mic stand near you, then feel free to go and stand near it. But I've got another question just to kind of flag it a few minutes ahead.
There's a panicking enforcer right now. Like, oh boy.
Sorry, hopefully they'll find a mic. If not, I can keep talking. Well, they can keep talking. I can prompt them to keep talking. But while they're kind of working that one out, I'm curious about that whole side of getting paid because ads have been in flux lately. I know Jesse, you kind of did quite a good description recently about that whole thing of, all right, here's what Patreon actually lets me do now when it comes to having to not fear the copyright hammer and all these sorts of different aspects. So, how has that been this sort of evolving process of finding those good methods to have a direct relationship of getting paid by your audience, as well as, I guess, having those things where it is just going, well, ads are pretty good too. Ash, I mean, you guys have a really good kind of subscription system, right?
So Rooster Teeth existed before YouTube, before there was any way of putting ads on videos.
Yeah.
So Rooster Teeth ended up approaching the sort of revenue model from the opposite direction, which was started with sponsorships on the website, and that got you the access to Red versus Blue episodes a little bit early, and then at the end of the season you would get a DVD of it. And so it was sort of pre-ordering DVDs, and then also selling t-shirts and merch, and those are still two of our main revenue drivers. So our main arms are, we've got merch, we have a very robust store, and if someone makes a joke, we're like, get that on a shirt, and it's like there in 2 days, and before everyone forgets.
And that's where some of those 300 people kind of go to work.
Yeah, it's very, very helpful. And then we have our sponsorship model, which is Rooster Teeth First, and that gets you early access to videos, and then we do some shows that are exclusive to that membership tier, and so we do a lot that way, and that's much more stable than something like ad revenue, although that is, that's a significant contributor for sure. And then the other one is we sell our own sponsorships and partnerships, and we'll do like integrations and that sort of thing. Those are a lot of like our main arms. So it's helped us a lot to have that sort of diversification and to have like our corner of the internet, where if the ads all go away on YouTube tomorrow, that will suck, but we'll still be here. So that not relying on just one thing, especially on a platform you don't control, has been hugely helpful for us.
I mean, I've always had the belief that eventually YouTube ad dollars would disappear. I've always felt that. I was like, when you see it, like, this is a scam or something, this can't be real. And so, with that belief, I've always just been like, okay, how do I continue to make content and not have to worry? And thankfully, when Patreon came along, it was like, look, I'll set this up and create a bunch of different stuff on there, and what this will allow me to do is just keep doing whatever I want on the channel instead of having to focus on things that are like, well, it won't be flagged, right? And so I like the idea of the community really pushing the idea that I can just keep creating things that they want to watch without having to be held back by whatever insane rules YouTube throws at us now.
You posted a video the other day where you had an ad on the front, and or might be a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, the ad on the front, but you did a really good job of explaining, here's what I'm doing, here's what we're trying to do. How did the audience react to that?
It was great. The people who went to the party loved it. I did an ad and was like, yo, this ad is super silly, but it's going to pay for a meetup that we're going to have on Saturday, so come on down to Dave & Buster's, where we had a great party, and they paid for all of it. So I like doing stuff like that. I'll gladly take someone's money and then funnel it back into something stupid. Yeah, easy.
Holly, how have you found it?
So I have this thing, it's on brand, that I call Keep the Pants on the Pigeons. that's kind of been my, I started Patreon to keep the pants on the pigeons. So because I do a lot of artwork too, so I do a lot of, writing and sculpting and all that kind of stuff. And Patreon has been really fun for me to keep up with that and also, support myself. And that's been really, really cool. I still obviously upload YouTube videos, but I used to do one every day, and I've gotten to the point, which I'm really lucky, to just play games like I want to play, instead of just being like, yeah, I'm gonna play something, I don't know, but like now I'm just like Animal Crossing, and I'm like, there. Like, I'm gonna Animal Cross the shit out of this. So it's like now I get to just pick and choose.
The voodoo.
No, but I'm sorry. Sorry, Mickey. So it's like, that's been a huge help, and I felt the same way. Like everyone is like, okay, what is the business term, diversify? You have to diversify, and recently I started doing my own merch on my own. So I taught myself, this is crazy, don't anyone do this. I taught myself how to source merch from China, how to ship it myself, how to package it myself, how to do it all by myself in my garage. And so when I sell pins and those little things, so when people buy my little things, it's literally me every Tuesday. I'm like, okay, sit down, turn on Star Trek Next Generation, and just from season 1 to whenever, and I'm just packing orders. So I don't know why I do that. I really shouldn't do that. Don't do that. But it keeps the pants on the pigeons.
That's what it's about.
And now your buyers know they're artisanally packaged by you yourself.
Yeah. And everyone gets a little signed card, and they really like that. And I've been doing things with Ross, who's my husband, who's also a YouTuber, and I'll just walk into his room and be like, can you sign these? And he's just like, So it's a team effort, but it's like those sorts of things are the things that seriously just like keep our livelihood going, especially when like Google is in charge of whether or not we're making money off of the video that we spent our our time on. So
awesome. Yeah. Look, we'll take a couple of questions. Probably got time for 2, maybe 3 if we're lucky. So there's someone ready. There's one mic there. We'll go alternate mics. So good luck fitting one in. But we'll start with you, sir.
Hi friends. So I've recently just started streaming myself, like many other people in the world have. How do you guys juggle producing content which you very much enjoy doing, and it seems that your current audience, I have a grand total of 2 subscribers, love those guys, seem to really enjoy it, but you have other people saying, hey, you get way more views if you go and do this, when it's not something that I personally want to enjoy. Do you ever have to encounter that pressure?
If you want to play the game, that idea is right. That like, if a game comes out, play that game on that day because people are looking for people playing that. Everyone's going to tell you that forever and ever and ever. The thing that I've found over the course of my life doing this, you know what? Just play what you want. If it really matters to you what you do and what you create and enjoying what you do, play what you want. I know a lot of people who have become successful based on their personality, not chasing that like elusive, I've got to play the hot thing that's out now. Just enjoy yourself. Expect that even if you did play the thing that was hot and awesome, people still wouldn't watch because everyone else is playing the same thing. Play what you want, enjoy it, don't expect anything from it except to have fun yourself. That's literally it.
Or trick them. Or trick them and say, that's right, I'm playing this super fun new game. You know, you get some people in chat and you're like, just kidding, I'm switching to Pokemon.
I'm still on that Warcraft bandwagon. Yeah.
Over here.
Sure, so that's specifically for Jesse. You talked about kind of how fame kind of creeps up on you. How just one day you wake up and you've got all these fans and it's a little bit crazy. So, does your cleaning lady know that she's internet famous now? That's a joke, but...
no, she does not, but that's still one of the funniest videos that ever existed on
genuinely though, do you kind of try to limit the amount of things that can go wrong, or do you actively invite, and that's a question for all of you, or do you actively invite a bit of uncertainty because it does have that humanizing kind of effect?
So I work with a team and we do video game news, so it's not personality driven. You know, we do throw our own insights and thoughts into there, but we don't invite that sort of uncertainty so much because we do have a production pipeline. And so for the most part, if it's like a technical something going crazy, no. If someone like decides to like throw shit at the set, we'll probably leave that in. So I think it really depends on like what sort of messing up. Okay, I'm sorry, Poodoo.
You're so close.
So I think it really depends. There are some things that are humanizing. Sometimes we will apologize because something's happened and we'll have the video go out late, but the video itself probably won't really reflect all of the chaos that was happening behind the scenes that made it late.
I forgot the question because I got distracted about Poodoo. I was like,
it was about that idea of, I guess, keeping it, do you worry about being, letting kind of mistakes be part of it, or do you just kind of run with it?
Oh yeah, I definitely just run with it, yeah. I mean, it's like, comes back to like doing what you enjoy. It's like, I never thought that I would have gotten to play D&D on stage. Like, I love D&D. I've been playing it since I was literally like 11. And so like, I just, the opportunity presented itself and I was like, of course. Like, so it's like, just let it happen.
Yeah, I think working in, normal TV, the whole idea is that you just don't have any mistakes happen at all, but live TV, things definitely, absolutely do happen. But yeah, you do have to be yourself and just have that personality to roll with it, and the audience forgives you and they like you more for it if you can be yourself rather than a robot. So yeah, that's from my perspective.
Things can seem too polished sometimes. I think, like that by trying to be perfect, people just kind of notice that they're not really seeing a real person, and so I think that can be a huge difference in finding that gateway through to, oh yeah, that is totally a person, and I want to spend time hanging out with them.
Yeah. So I thought you said steaks, but you said mistakes. I was like, do you just run with the steaks? And I was like, yeah, sure I do.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yes, mistakes as well. Yes.
They're good for my skin, I rub them.
But yeah, we go off script all the time.
I was like, sure. It's like everyone thinks Holly's gone senile.
It's an Australian
Okay.
thing. It's an Australian thing.
But yeah, we go off script all the time. We improvise, and it's live, and sometimes that doesn't work, and sometimes it does. But when it does, it's great.
And just don't freak out about it when it happens, right? You just kind of, you laugh at yourself and embrace it.
And don't look at your co-host and go, "What are you doing?"
Over here.
Hi, I was wondering if you have like any solutions, because I have anxiety and I do suffer from imposter syndrome all the time. Like ways to kind of just like get over that hump.
So I have great resources for this. So there's this author, her name's Brené Brown, and she's amazing. If you guys haven't listened to her stuff, she's amazing. She's just the best. And she talks a lot about anxiety and things like that in her books, also great audiobooks. But one of the things that she says that really stuck with me is just a little phrase of lean into discomfort. And it's not even just like not like a scary thing, like just something that you feel discomfort for. And as a person with anxiety as well, that's lots of things. But you don't have to jump in. You don't have to, throw yourself in the fire. But just lean into things that make you uncomfortable, like the discomfort. And like that's even like something silly, like for me, I hate going to the gym, and like I'll be like, oh, lean into discomfort, just go. I know it's awful, you can do whatever you want afterwards, but just go. And it's just that, but that little phrase of leaning into discomfort, like if I keep telling myself that as like a mantra, it helps so much. So find something that reminds you that it's not the end of the world, and that you can lean into that. And listen to Brené Brown's book, she's just so great. Yeah, you're welcome.
I think we can fit, if it's quick, we'll maybe get the last two in, so over here.
So a lot of you work with your friends. How do you handle that, like merging of professional and friendships? Has it ever gone south with your friends?
It's real hard working with your friends.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's a risk. There's always that risk that it can be difficult if you end up like in charge to then be like, like your friend like fuck something up, and it's like, oh god, I don't want to get after them because they're my friend, but also like this person just fucked things up, and I'm sorry, is there a Star Wars word for that?
No, I think it's fuck.
Okay. You have to like get after them, and it's really, really difficult to do with a friend. But you have to accept that that's going to be part of the new dynamic if you want to work together with your friends. And so if you want to keep your friendships exactly as they are, don't work with them. But if you're okay with making that shift and you can all deal with that together, then it's actually really awesome, because they're your friends because you all get along and you're into the same stuff and you understand each other. And so there are a lot of really great benefits to being able to like spend all day with people that you really genuinely like, but it's not going to be the same as it was before you worked together.
It's just like moving in with friends. If you can set ground rules off, like right off the bat, if you can just work together, you'll be fine. But I feel like the vast majority of people are like, yeah, we're gonna be friends, we're gonna be awesome, we're moving together. And 3 days later, you hate that person. It's just like that. You just have to set ground rules going in and be like, this is our relationship now, this is who we are.
I think you also have to be really realistic about who your friends are and whether you can work with them or not. If you've got, mismatched work ethics, if one of you is working a lot harder than the other person, I think it's important to define your roles really early on so that you know what each of you are responsible for, and that's what you can focus on. I'm really lucky that, my friends are incredible, hardworking people that I admire and look up to, so I'm privileged to be able to work with them. But yeah, that's something that I definitely recommend. Just nut it out at the beginning. Go, I do this, you do this. Okay, great.
Awesome. Here, we'll fit in this one last question.
Awesome.
Morning. I just want to know how you guys try and keep things fresh and keep yourselves moving forward. Like, especially for you, Ray, you'd be in a set sort of, like, there's a template that they'd want you to follow. How do you keep yourself challenged to keep it fresh?
I diversify as much as possible. I'm working on lots of different shows and projects and writing lots of different things, not because, I need to work all the time, even though I probably do, but because I need that variety in my life. And I find that each project I work on, I can bring a fresh perspective to the other projects that I'm working on. And they appreciate that. You might have a show that's got a template and it's got its tone and it's got its things that it does, but that doesn't mean that they're closed off to new ideas. And having someone come in with fresh eyes and go, hey, what if we do it this way? It's actually surprising the amount of times that people are completely open to that and really grateful for it as well.
Awesome. Does anyone else have anything like how you just keep moving forward and challenging yourselves?
Yeah, I mean, part of the freedom of doing stuff on the internet too is that you have a little bit of freedom that you're not working within necessarily like a network template, and you can sometimes just throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. Like something that like you're like, you know what, this would be really cool. It's like spend some time and then just put it out there. And if you want to keep doing it, great. If that got it out of, like you sort of like worked out that idea and you executed it and you go back to doing whatever it is you're doing before, that's fine too. Or you may, now that you've worked out something new, be able to integrate it into things that you've already been doing before. So I think, and you'll see that with a lot of content creators, like what they do evolves over time, where, if you look at a video and then a video that they've done several years later, you can see that there isn't necessarily like one day where everything changed, but just gradually they'd be like, I'm gonna try something new. I kind of want to do this, and then it changes with them. So you don't always see it as like some dramatic change, but just like something new today.
Awesome. Can we please thank Ashley Jenkins, Jesse Cox, Rae Johnston, and Holly Conrad?